Well, good morning, everybody. It's the 10th of September, 2023, and another sunny day. I don't know where all these sunny days are coming from in Minsk, and they're actually kind of warm. They say it's going to be a very warm September. I remember last year it wasn't quite this warm. There were actually days when I was wearing a coat in September in Baranovichi at this time of year. But, you know, we have leaves, as you hear, leaves falling on the pavement, and some places, I think some maple trees are really nice, you know, brilliant yellow right now. But anyhow, as far as news, I wasn't really going to be doing so much news today. There was some skirmishes apparently, and some people were killed right around the border of Azerbaijan and Armenia, and I told you there's some things going on there. That's actually a little bit of a dispute somehow. Not really a dispute, but some sort of crazy things happening between the relationship with Russia and Armenia, which is normally supposed to be very, very cordial. And Russia gets along with both Azerbaijan and Armenia, and it's going to be strange to figure out what's going on there. And you know that Turkey's, if things start to get a little bit hotter, Turkey's going to get involved, and of course on the side of Azerbaijan. And but Armenia, it's not a very good thing, them trying to do things sort of anti-Russian, because they don't really have great allies down there. I believe it's possible that Iran leans a little bit more on the side of Armenia. So what's going to happen there is going to be strange, and I don't know. Armenia, I believe, is they're trying to increase their military power, and obviously in doing that, they're trying to make some sort of an alliance with the United States. That's just my guess. That's just my guess. But mostly today, what I was just going to talk about, and this is going to be a very short video, is, you know, there's a subscriber, well, excuse me for laughing, but he was saying, you know, that Putin has got like a super yacht or super yachts and a big palace, you know, and they probably said Sochi. I don't know if they said Sochi. But anyway, that's been debunked a long, long time ago, many years ago. And, you know, I don't really want to laugh at the person for falling for this, because I don't think that it was put out so much in the Western press. And a lot of this stems, all of it, I guess, stems from the time of Navalny and maybe one of the past elections, you know, with Putin. And Navalny is an extremely corrupt character, extremely corrupt. How he got his fortune and all, you got to look that up. I don't even look at it anymore. And then supposedly he was poisoned by Russia, but yet Russia sent him to Germany very fast. But before they did that, they tested him, his blood and all, and they found out, I think that it wasn't whatever the poison is that Germany claimed that it was. So that's all a lot of fake stuff anyway. And then why did he come back to Russia? So he came back to Russia, and for other reasons, I guess he's put into jail, and he's given very good treatment there. And but he's very, very corrupt, a very corrupt guy. And he was the one that was lying about all this stuff about Putin. And the super palace, which is actually not in the city of Sochi, it's in the Sochi Oblast. And I remember hearing all about that before. You know, it's extensive information about that, and I saw all of it. And you know, you can just sit back and start laughing at all this stuff. But again, I don't think it was maybe told in the Western press, so that's why people fall for it, and some people still believe this. This is some kind of a rich guy, I guess. He doesn't have quite enough money that was actually building this. It's not a palace, I believe it was a hotel, and it was unfinished, and it's still unfinished. And I think he's building it, at least at that time, I think it was for 11 years, he's still building it. And Navalny was trying to say that that's Putin's palace, and he was showing photographs of rooms in it, but of course these rooms are all from some other places, like the library. I believe it was like someplace in Hungary or Budapest or something like that, and people have since that time gone to those places and found out that it isn't, that it is, the library is actually somewhere else, that Navalny was saying was in Putin's house, Putin's so-called palace, which is actually closer to Tuapse, which is north of Sochi. So I remember looking at all this stuff myself, and reporters and a lot of people have gone to this place since that time. And if it was Putin's, you wouldn't get anywhere close to it anyway. So it's not Putin's. And even if it was the Russian government, and some people were saying, oh, the Russian government, see, look, there's a two-headed eagle there, a sign of Russia or something. But apparently that's probably from the guy's family crest of whoever is building it. They even know the guy's name, and they went inside this place. It's completely unfinished. So there's not even a livable room in there, apparently. You can't even stay there. You can probably stay there in the summertime with a sleeping bag, but I don't know. But it still needs a lot of work. Even to this very day, it's still not finished. So, and I remember, I think there was a boat, for example. Let's get to the yachts. First time, some people are saying Putin has 4 big yachts. And then they show this, they settled a couple years later on this one yacht, and it looks like it has like 4 levels. And, you know, a lot of the press you'll see, probably Putin's yacht, they'll say. Allegedly Putin's, you know, but there's no evidence. And then they found out, I think it was somebody else's name, and they said, well, that's a proxy. Putin actually owns it, but it's in this other guy's name. So, but anyway, the whole conclusion of all this is if there's absolutely zero evidence that any super yacht belongs to Putin. And I think he probably does have a boat. I remember seeing a film footage of Putin and Lukashenko getting onto some boat somewhere. It wasn't even that big of a boat, but even some sort of a boat, 45, 50 feet, is considered a yacht. So I've known people with yachts. I've known a lot of people. As a matter of fact, a person I know very well, and I communicate with him often. He's a yacht salesman in the Caribbean. So, and then a friend of mine, they own a yacht charter business also. So, you know, and these are yachts where I think you can sleep 6 people. I think it's mostly a day trips. I think is most. You can rent it for a few days and all that. This friend of mine that has this business, he also has a small airlines, and has some airplanes. I sent him a WhatsApp the other day. I think it was about a week ago, just showing him something funny on TikTok or whatever like that. But I'm not in, you know, a lot of contact with that guy. But so anyway, and then I've been on other yachts and things like that. But that does not mean I own these yachts. And Putin, I think he was invited as a guest on a yacht. Somebody took some pictures. That was like 20 years ago. So that's Putin's yacht. It is just like, I think all of these stories, and I don't know, I don't know the person, you know, especially just from some little comments, you know. I don't know, maybe the person's a lot younger that made these comments, and you have to be really skeptical about what you read. You can't just believe everything that you hear. And of course, a lot of people tend to believe what they want to believe. All of us are like that. I try to look at like trends, and if you start to realize that something is true about some certain leader or people or country, government or whatever, and you got to look back and see, like I said, trends. And then when you start to see some occurrences happening or decisions made, you know, then you only can very much assume that it's true. But you can't bet that anything is true. Anything that even seems true, anything that's even put out by either vloggers or even by the mainstream press. You know, here I'm sitting in Minsk. I don't go to Sochi. I don't go to Syria. I don't go to New York City or anything. How do I know that a lot of this stuff is true? None of us really do. You know, and a lot of times just because it's put out officially that it's true, it doesn't mean that it's true. And you've all seen it before, that when they put something out as true and the whole world runs with it, and then you find out, sometimes even weeks later, that it was all just fake news. You know, and we're all susceptible for falling for this stuff. And now they have these deep fakes and everything. So it's very, very difficult. So a lot of time I try to say allegedly or apparently, or I just say that somebody said this, you know, some leader or whatever. And some things sound kind of ridiculous, as you know, and then you can kind of run with that, you know, like somebody says something ridiculous. But, you know, a lot of the things that's going on right now, you know, this stuff about Putin, even Elon Musk, he qualified himself when he said, Putin probably has more money than me. And there is no evidence, absolutely zero, that Putin is a billionaire. Absolutely zero. And then I would even ask myself, well, what the hell would Putin do with billions of dollars? He's working all the time, and he's in office for many years, and he's working for the government. So when would he actually enjoy any of this? What's the point of him having a whole bunch of money he can't enjoy? You know, when he goes on vacations, he's up in some log cabin somewhere out in the mountains. That's what he loves to do. So he might have a yacht, maybe some 40-footer. Like I said, I saw he and Lukashenko getting into some, I call it a boat. It's a boat too. But it's like you had to be careful walking onto this. It's not a great big yacht or nothing. Any some kind of boat. That could have been Putin's. And Lukashenko himself, he said he has no interest in any kind of yachts or palaces. He lives in a big house for the government, and of course that has to be because you have to have grounds and gates around it. Otherwise, the USA would be there immediately and assassinate him, as they've said that they want to do. Poland said they want to assassinate Lukashenko. So many people have said they want to assassinate Lukashenko. It's even was tried in, I think, 2020 with elements from Ukraine trying to assassinate Lukashenko. So that's a lot different there. And I've been to these government houses of some heads of state in other countries. I've only met really two heads of state, Ronald Reagan and Ralph Gonsalves of the St. Vincent and the Grenadines, actually. You know, and then you meet other people, you know, higher officials and ministers and things like that, top generals of countries. You know, that's in different capacities, you know, that you meet them. But anyway, a lot of these people are, I don't know, I could go into their personalities, but a lot of time the personality goes along with the position. And if you were in that position, you'd probably act a lot that way too. And you think of yourself like if you were Mel Gibson or something like that, people might say, oh, he's arrogant. I don't know if I've heard that about Mel Gibson, but maybe some other people. But I'll tell you what, if you're some celebrity that everybody recognizes, don't you think you get sick of everybody coming up, and a lot of them want to be your friends, and a lot of them want is some of your money or some kind of good job or something like that. So I would get sick of people doing that, and a lot of them want to insulate themselves. And I was close to, some singer Tori Amos and some other ones, you know. And there's people sort of around them that work for them, and it's like they protect them, even if you're not even trying to talk to them. And well, Tori Amos was one, her guitar player, believe it or not, said that she wanted to meet me. I was just watching her when before a concert, because I was working for setting up the concert, and I was just watching her, and I never really knew who she was or nothing like that. And then the guitar player, when we were sitting around, all of us people that were, you know, doing the building of the stage and all that sort of thing, he came and said that she wanted, but it was in Germany, and the people I worked for, they didn't speak any English, and it wasn't any big deal. It was just kind of a casual thing. I don't even know why she'd want to talk to me. I saw no reason for it. But anyway, my bosses, they wouldn't allow that anyway, so it was never any big deal. And who in the heck am I? Just some guy watching. I don't know, maybe she was single. I have no idea. Maybe I was looking good. I don't know. But that's just, you know, all these big shots. But we're coming up with all these things and saying that they're gangsters and they're evil and all that. And I'll tell you what, sometimes you find out that they probably are. You find out about, like when Alex Jones went into this, Bohemian forest there in California, and then he even accosted some of these, these congressmen and stuff like that, and they didn't deny it. And the people that were there, it's like, what the heck? They're sort of like rituals and all this weird crap. Some people even admit that they're doing all this satanic sort of stuff. I don't really know, but anyhow, so you can get surprised, you know. Sometimes you don't fall for any of this BS that they put out, like something about Putin, for example, and then you find out some of these other people you think are not so bad, and then they believe in all kinds of satanic things. Yeah, even Mel Gibson put out some stuff about he didn't mention any names, but just talked about Hollywood in general. And apparently there's a lot of crazy stuff that goes on in Hollywood. I think he was just calling it Weird Town or whatever like that. And anyway, he knows, and you hear about Oprah Winfrey and a lot of people like that. And then it was an interview with Rob Schneider, the kind of a small comedian, and what a great guy he is. I mean, you should find that. It was with George Galloway, Moat, mother of all talk shows, and he interviewed Rob Schneider. That was really fascinating, really, really fascinating. So, but anyway, you don't really know just by reading something that the press puts out. Putin's got a big palace. He's got 5 yachts. He's got 50. I think now they say Putin's got $70 billion. No evidence, absolutely zero anywhere that Putin would have even $1 billion. And I'm sure he's got millions, but nearly every leader on planet Earth has millions of dollars. And I've seen some leaders, I'll tell you what, and they have assets in many places that you never know about. And you heard about, who was it, David Cameron, who was the Prime Minister of England, and he was implicated in the Panama Papers. Remember that? That he had hidden money through this firm, and I think it was a firm in Panama, a law firm. And then that's just one firm, and there's a number of these firms that deals with celebrities and politicians and rich people, that they have hidden money parked in different places. So a lot of these people have vast stores of wealth that we don't even know about. So yeah, that is really something right there. That is really something. The rich are richer than you think, and they're getting richer. And I think that's what's going on in the world mostly is a big transfer of wealth from the lower to the upper. And it's not so crazy here in Belarus, but I think after the year 2000, of course, there were quite a few, let me say, semi-wealthy people created here in Belarus. I don't think there's any big oligarchs, and I don't think there's any billionaires in Belarus. I don't think so. And of course there are some millionaires, and there are people that have Jaguars and Bentleys and maybe have 3 or 4 and some really ritzy cars and big houses and things like that. But I don't think there's any billionaires. But it's just not so prevalent here. So it's I don't know. I like it like that much better than people that are having $20 billion, while where most people you can't get anything. You really are working your butt off just to make it. Look at Canada now. Hear about Canada and what's going on there. People working hard all the time, and they can't even pay their rent. I mean, it's really getting crazy in a lot of these places. Prices, inflation is just incredible. Like I said, I'm glad here they try to keep that down. At least the big difference between this country is that government actually cares about the people, and that's they see it as their main job in Belarus, is to work for the people. And when the executive branch finds people in the government that are working more for themselves than for the people, they've got to answer for something here. So, and you can't mistreat the people. The police are mostly very courteous. And it's very much the opposite of what you see in the news. So if you find all of this stuff, in the news saying how Putin is this and Putin, and I think I remember they said that Putin was, I think it was when that airliner was shot down, Putin came and he strangled people with his bare hands. He came there personally and killed people with his bare hands or something like that. That was some really crazy stuff. You know how a lot of this stuff comes about in Ukraine, this real crazy stuff. Let me go a little bit further over here. And the Sun, a British tabloid, I guess, they put out now that in eastern Ukraine, that Russia now has, they have like schools, or I don't know if it's a school or children's homes, and they have the children, they have these rooms where they practice Russian roulette. Not practice, they actually have Russian roulette, and the children have guns, little children, and do Russian roulette, and the walls are splattered with blood, and they have to get up, what is it, at 7 in the morning? I can't remember all this stuff. I should have written it down. I didn't write anything down today, but it was like, they have drills at 7 in the morning, and like I said, blood splattered walls, and and all kinds of real crazy stuff. You know, it was just so, I don't even know why they put this stuff out. There's nobody stupid enough to believe this stuff. And, you know, even the stuff that they say about Putin, you know, I was skeptical. And I was thinking, well, how come I never see Putin on any yacht at all? And Lukashenko said he has no need for any yacht. He has a house, I think, in Sochi. And obviously Putin has a dwelling down there. He's probably got a nice house in Sochi. Why not? I mean, and like I said, I like another head of state of a very tiny country that I've known, that I do know. The guy's got multiple houses, and I believe he's got a lot of businesses in other countries, not in the country that he has in. And when they run for re-election, what they do, because there's a lot of poor people, they pass out free building supplies, you know, so people can build on their house, galvanized for their roof, because it's a poor country. And lumber, lots and lots of lumber. They fill the warehouses and things full of lumber and building supplies before the election. That's how you know that there's going to be election coming a lot of the time. And then they start passing it out. And when the election comes and they start having rallies, they take money and they roll it up inside of a t-shirt, you know, and tie it, and then they throw it out to the crowds in their party colored uniform t-shirts. So everybody puts these t-shirts on. So like, say the color is red. So you see a sea of red t-shirts, you know, and all of them had some money rolled up in it when they throw them out to the crowds. And it looks like all these people support. So everybody goes to these rallies because they know that there's going to be money passed out. So a lot of the poor people, so those poor people support this party because this party has access to the taxpayers' money, and they roll it up in t-shirts and throw it out. I mean, this is all a bunch of stuff, how that really works out. And there was something else. Oh yeah, it was Macron. There's two other pieces of information. It's also about Russia that I wanted to put out. Macron, he said Russia has no place in the Olympics. I believe it's going to be set in France. It must be, if he's the guy that's deciding all this stuff. Or maybe that he's got heavy influence, and that Russia is not going to be allowed to compete in the Olympics. You know, very strange. As if it's a, I don't know, what does the Olympics have to do with the military operation? All that's, you know, I don't even want to delve into that, because that's not anything that I talk about. But he said, oh, but we have to care for these Russian athletes. You know, in other words, trying to get them to defect is probably what he's trying to do, and that they can be representative under other countries. I think they've done this before. So Russia can't go, but some Russian athletes, and maybe not all, maybe just some, and of course they all have to take drug tests. The ones from certain Western countries, they don't have to take drug tests, but even if you've taken some cough medicine or something like that and it shows up to be some sort of a drug, then they don't get to compete in the Olympics. You know how that really works. And some of the ones that actually do take these drugs, performance enhancing drugs, actually get away with it from other countries. And so anyway, Russia can go under some other country like Moldova or who knows what. Probably not Ukraine. Also, what was some of the other news? Oh yeah, a Russian people, now I believe they cannot travel. I think from what I heard, and I don't know how true this is, but you have to look it up, but Russians cannot just go into the European Union, I believe, anymore. You can't have a cell phone. Russians can't take their cell phones, and I don't know, there are other restrictions too. You can't take a car. I think you have to come, and I don't know, there's just a bunch of restrictions because you're from the evil side. Isn't this incredible? Isn't it incredible? So I guess that's how they look at, that's their view of humanity and diversity and fairness and all that sort of thing. But isn't it strange that if you come from any of those countries, you're allowed to go to Russia, any of them, without any restrictions like that. You can take your cell phone, things like that. You can go to Belarus. As a matter of fact, like I was saying in other videos, if you come from Poland or Lithuania or Latvia, Estonia, you can come to Belarus and you don't need a visa. But if you're from Belarus and you want to go to those countries, including Poland, you have to have a visa. So, and normally, as you know how that works, is it's reciprocal. If one country says that a certain other country has to have a visa, then they normally reciprocate it so that you know, it's normally what do they call that? Either, you know, it goes both ways. You can go, like say, from the U.S. to Canada without one, and then Canada to the U.S. without a visa. But they don't do that to Belarus, so because that's an evil country. Well, it's actually what it is a, you know, is a country, and if you've been paying attention, they were supposed to overthrow the government of Belarus before they overthrew the government of Ukraine, and I've said that in other videos. Everybody knows that, and they've even come out and admitted that Belarus was supposed to fall beforehand, but Lukashenko, I love Lukashenko in so many ways, but he was able to circumvent that, and yeah, so I don't know. I don't know, I like Lukashenko in so many ways, but a lot of the people here, they don't even understand Lukashenko, because even the people here are subject to the propaganda that comes out from the West. And of course there is paid propaganda even from neighboring countries like Poland. I think they said they're very proud of the propaganda, how they brainwash people. They come actually right out and said that, and that they were going to try to, increase that or do it. I think they did that mostly with Belarus. And it was very effective. Poland said that. So, you know, they're trying to, like I say, increase that. But let's see, what other information did I want to put out? There's not that much I wanted to say, mostly about a lot of this fake. I'm going to try to find some of the links. I saw them this morning about the yacht, because I was thinking, they didn't really expand. Everybody was talking about how fake this palace was, that it was obviously not Putin's, has nothing to do with Putin whatsoever. I think Putin's never even been there. And but I was curious about the yacht, because I think they dropped that one right away and knew that one was fake. So you didn't hear about that, but people weren't so sure about the palace, and of course then that was debunked, you know, within weeks after Navalny put that out. So, and then, like I said, you find out about the vast corruption of Navalny. Really incredible. And one lucky thing about Belarus, the difference is you don't ever really find really corrupt people like Navalny in Belarus, so that's good. I think by the time it gets that far, they're already caught when they're so corrupt. There is things going on in Belarus, and you know, what do you call corruption? That's another thing. Let's like define corruption. It's unethical or illegal behavior conducted by a person or persons in an official position. You know, that's what the best definition of the corruption that we talk about is, you know. But the real corruption is like rotting meat, of course. That's always number one. And after that, you know, it's really not well defined. Like the definition I just gave you is actually the best. So when you talk about that, so it's very easy when you have people like Trudeau or somebody like that, who's also lately in the news. They just make something legal that is very unethical and should be illegal, but it's not, because they make it legal. It's just like getting rid of the Patriot Act or getting rid of, excuse me, oh, I got that backwards. Getting rid of the U.S. Constitution and implementing something called the Patriot Act. So in other words, they can just tell the Supreme Court to go home, because they don't need a Supreme Court anymore, because they suspend the Constitution. So how everything upsets itself like that, you know. And just like science, Mr. Science, not Mr. Science, science itself is Anthony Fauci. He is science. So all of the stuff that used to be science is not science anymore, because science himself told us that all that stuff is fake. All the things that we knew about viruses for hundreds of years, now that's all not true anymore, because there's a new definition. Oh, we can go on about that. So, but anyway, be ready for that new virus coming out here, people, or new viruses. And who knows if they're going to come out with new, bigger and better ones. Well, I was just walking around here. I'm wondering what this is here. Something goes in here and comes out there. I don't even, well, it looks like there's a place for trucks or something to drive there, but apparently it's not working anymore, because there's no worn out tracks in the grass, any evidence that any trucks have come and got anything there. So, but anyway, this, like I was saying about this Putin's yacht, Putin's palace. it's pretty silly that somebody who can't prove that Putin has a palace or that Putin has a yacht, just based on that somebody said that Putin has that. They show a boat and say, this is allegedly, this is possibly Putin's yacht, even though there's no evidence. There is no yacht. It's not in Putin's name. And then somebody put out, I think in Russian, said, well, he put it in somebody else's name, I think, when they found out that it's not in Putin's name. And you know, when you don't have any evidence, and then saying that, what is somebody saying about me? Oh, that I have to do better research. It's like, well, what is it? So, you know, you can't prove a negative. So it's like me trying to prove that I didn't assassinate Abraham Lincoln. So it's like, huh? You know? Actually, that's a little bit ridiculous. Say that I was, you know, how can I prove that I'm not the one that assassinated Prigozhin? How do I prove that? You know, it's like, you know, prove that that's not Putin's yacht. Prove that that's not Putin's palace. You know, sitting home in your living room or at your table and looking on your computer, that somebody shows a picture of some big ship and says, that's Putin's. So, see, that's proof. That's proof that that's Putin's because I read it in the internet somewhere. I mean, I don't know. I rest my case. I rest my case. So if there's no proof, you know, how does this person say that that's Putin's yacht? How do they say that that's Putin's palace? When there is no evidence, you never see Putin there. Putin's always working. Even Elon Musk, he at least qualified it, like I said. He at least qualified. So he probably has more money than me. You know, only because Putin probably could get some money. He possibly could, you know, in his position. If he was a corrupt guy, if he was driven by money, you know, and I don't even know. Elon Musk is kind of a strange guy. He's one of the most wealthiest people on earth, but he doesn't really spend so much on himself. And he's not really driven by money. So how does he assume that Putin is driven by money? You know, it's normally you think of what drives you, and then you assume that everybody else is like that. Or maybe he's looking at other people. And maybe that's why he can't understand Putin quite so much, because Putin is not acting like Warren Buffett or Jeff Bezos or some other people. I mean, you can even look at, say, Tucker Carlson. He's a multimillionaire too. He's got many millions, and you know, he doesn't live super rich. So there's a lot of people like that. So how can you say that stuff? But I don't think Putin really doesn't need to have super wealth. So why would he be trying to get all this wealth, and nobody has any evidence that he has, including Elon Musk or anyone? But yet some people come out and say, because he possibly could, then therefore he must. So, and then they say, what do they say? I'm delirious, or no, the same person says something like that I think it was something like I have to do research. I say, well, how can I find the research that does not exist? You know, if you're looking for something that's true, and to somehow prove that it's true, and there is no evidence that proves that it's true, how am I supposed to find that evidence? Because somebody said that that palace belongs to Putin, so it must be true, because it says so in the internet. I mean, you know, and we can all be fooled. Like I said, it's much, you know, that stuff, it doesn't hold any water at all, but you know, there are things that they can make like it really looks like it's true, that are also not true. And that's not one of them. I remember it was the 1980s, and they had some photograph of Donald Trump walking past his airplane, and they had a bum sleeping underneath it. It was a black and white photo, by the way. And they were trying to make fun of Donald Trump even back then. And then they showed you the real picture, and there is no bum there, but they put it in there with graphics. And now it's even much easier. So they could do things with Putin to make it look even worse. You know, you see these photographs of movie stars, and then they show you something with a bunch of wrinkles and things, and say, that's what they really look like. You know, and that stuff is all faked and doctored. I tell you, it's just way too easy to fake everybody out now. And Putin, if I were him, he probably shouldn't go anywhere near any kind of a yacht, because then everybody says, that's Putin's yacht, you know. And I'm not going to say like I said, I try to refrain from saying any insults to this person who's trying to insult me and saying I'm delusional and don't do enough research and stuff like that. But I mean, what's the point in doing research on something that obviously is not true? That there is no evidence in any existence about Putin about that. And I would challenge that person to put in some evidence to prove it to me that Putin owns that palace, you know, and just showing me some article, you know, doesn't make it true. So maybe that's, I don't know, it's probably a very young person doing that. And, you know, you can, like I'm saying, you can get fooled. Everybody can get fooled, but not this time, you know, not me, not this time, because that's just too ridiculous. And again, I'm saying Putin is probably a multimillionaire, and Putin probably does have, I guess, what we would call a yacht, or maybe two, but he doesn't have a super yacht. What would Putin do with a super yacht? How come we've never seen him? We've never heard of him on this super yacht, except for maybe in one story from Navalny. You know, where does Putin have the time to go to this super yacht, to enjoy himself on this yacht? And why does he instead go into the mountains? Always on his vacation, he goes into the mountain, often with Shoigu. And he must be gay, you know? You could come up with all kinds of things. I wonder why they haven't said that Putin is gay. You know, like I said, they can come up with anything. And he's very sick. He's dying of cancer. And he's dying of this. Lukashenko is very sick and he's dying from this too. You know, you never even know. Sometimes some of this stuff, there might be some truth in some of this, but I would like to add, I've even seen in different countries where I've met, and you've known lawyers, you know, big lawyers that are lawyers for the heads of state, which I know. I know some lawyers, and they're the lawyer of like prime minister or something like that, and yet they often fall for a bunch of crap like this. And you would think a lawyer who goes by something called evidence, you have to have evidence to prove that something is true before you can actually say it's true. And sometimes they fall for that kind of stuff. Or maybe they just fake like they fall for that because it suits their purpose, and they're obviously involved in politics. So then it suits that purpose for that political party that they support for that to be true. So they say it's true even if they know there is no evidence to prove that that's true. Now you get all kinds of people. The whole world is full of this kind of stuff, people. And I met somebody just a couple days ago. Her name is Christina, I believe. She's a young girl here in Minsk, and she's studying to be a teacher, and she doesn't like politics at all. And one of the main reasons that a lot of young people don't like politics is because of this reason, because of all this stuff. And I'm kind of asking myself, you know, I never liked politics either when I was younger. I'm starting to think, well, you know, what am I doing? Do I like politics? Actually, maybe the reason why I do this is because I don't like politics. You know, I don't like politics because there's just nothing but lies. I mean, in the West. Over here, I'm sure there is some dog-eat-dog sort of things. Obviously there is. There's dog-eat-dog sort of things that in politics here too, but mostly in the West, you know. A lot of cheating and lying, and you know, there are certain people also that are involved into some really bad stuff. As a matter of fact, I have met one person, and he, you know, he's into doing some very, very nasty things to people for his own political agenda, and just for even revenge, If you, if you don't, I mean, I don't know, I tell you, it's really sickening. So in truth, maybe I just abhor a lot of politicians, and maybe that's why I do this. So a lot of young people that might want to be watching this thinking that I love politics and all this sort of thing, maybe it's because I don't like politics is why I am doing this channel. These are abhorrent people a lot of the time. And when I find somebody, actually like this country, Alexander Lukashenko, whose intentions are for the country and for the people, you know, it's actually refreshing. And I would rather be in a place like this than in a place where the politicians work for themselves. And when I mean for themselves, I also mean they work for their donors, because they're working for themselves when they're enriching their donors, because their donors are the ones that pay for their political campaigns, and so that they can live in luxury and privilege, and they can have private jets even though they don't own them. It belongs to the state. And of course they enrich themselves at the same time too. Look at Nancy Pelosi. Need I say more? Look at the Bidens. Look at the Biden family. I think I remember you see some old films of Joe Biden, and he was kind of a poor guy originally, back when he didn't have so much hair on his head, before he was having hair transplants. And now he's a very rich guy, big multimillionaire. And you saw how much money his son was getting, old Hunter, you know. And a lot of people are saying that his, what is it, 83 or 86,000 US dollars a month just from Burisma, his sitting on the board of Burisma, that was just a small part. He was getting things from other, he had what, Rosemont Seneca investment group also at that same time in Ukraine. He had investments, and he was getting kickbacks and things like that for in China. And don't forget 10% for the big guy, 10% for the big guy. You know who the big guy is, of course, Joe, and lots of money. So maybe it's abhorrent to me, these politicians, and and then somebody coming out because they assume that Putin must be rich, he must have billions, and he must be the richest man in the world. I don't know. It's a sad thing that humanity comes to this sort of thing when people make these assumptions like that. So you can assume some things, but I don't assume that. That's going a little bit too far, because it just doesn't fit. It doesn't pass the smell test. I don't see where Putin is enjoying a billionaire's lifestyle, which he's not. But he wears sunglasses, so therefore he must be a rich guy. Anyway, that's about all I have to say for today. And thanks for joining me. And I'll see you on the next one. Thanks again. Bye.